Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show, and it's time for the Premier League review. And I have a small inkling that today might be heavily focused on refereeing performances. I've already checked the comments. Me and Corey have been chatting off air there, and it's absolutely popping with, having a go at the man in black. And rightly so. The PGMLO are going to review it, so that's going to be. We'll see what comes out of that. But yeah, we've got loads to get into. Refereeing decisions, the football, Ivan Toney scoring a hat-trick against Leeds United, all these sort of things that we're going to chat about. So get your ears ready because we're going to get into it. I don't think I do it. Arsenal started like a house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's Judgment Day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any love, I believe I'm self-made, yeah. Yeah, man, keep it locked on the Just Your Football Show, as is always the case, because guess what's back tomorrow? The Champions League. And if you watched last week when I did that bit of a wild Wednesday kind of vibe with all the Premier League games, I'll be doing it again for the Premier League as well, so make sure you watch that. I know I look like an egg cup today, but there's reasons that this needs to happen, because I would like to welcome sponsors of the Premier League show, both the preview and the review. Final Runner, which is up there. The link to Final Runner is in the description. Let me give you a rundown of what Final Runner is. I've mentioned it previously on a few other videos, but just to give you the viewers of the Just Joe Football Show the rundown on what Final Runner is. So it's very similar to Last Man Standing, if some of you have played that previously. But basically what you need to do is it's £10 to enter, £10 to enter the prize pot. There's currently 40 people currently in the competition, the Just Joe competition, which is live on their site now, which means there is an overall guaranteed prize pot at this moment in time of £340. Of course, that will change if more people enter, and I implore you to enter. I myself have entered. What you need to do, just to give you the rundown, each game week there is a selection of fixtures. Of course, for this weekend's fixtures, you can see Saturday the 10th right through to Monday the 12th when Leeds United play Forest. What you need to do is make a selection on who you believe will win their game, okay? You can only use one selection. If that team then wins their game and goes through to the next round, then you too go through to the next round. However, you can only select that team once, okay? So you can't pick Manchester City every week because they win every week, right? What you need to do is obviously be a bit methodical on who you're picking. For example, I'm not really picking Leeds this weekend. I've just put that on. I didn't want to give it away, right, who I'm actually picking this weekend, because I don't want people to copy me, because I've got ball knowledge and I'll win this, right? But basically, it's called Final Runner. The person who is left, the final person left at the end, obviously receives the prize pot. Boys, just looking at that, at this weekend's fixtures, obviously, I want you to enter. I ask you to enter because I want you to get involved. If you were to select a guaranteed winner this weekend, looking at the weekend's fixtures, I know me and Corey were talking off air, Corey. We felt it was quite a difficult pick this weekend. Yeah. Who is it you'd pick?
I'm going Brighton, to be honest. Like, Brighton? A lot of those fixtures look very, very close. I even think Liverpool Wolves is not necessarily a guaranteed win for Liverpool. So go Brighton. They're in great form. As we'll
discuss. Away at Bournemouth, Yeah, we will discuss them. Oscar, who would be your pick?
Yeah, tough one, isn't it? Arsenal, I think. Arsenal's the only one that jumps out at me where I think, that could kind of back that. I think all the other ones, even Palace, Man United, it's got to be Arsenal for me.
Yeah. Justin thinks Arsenal as well. There you go. I think that, to be honest, I did put Leeds for the purpose of sharing this, but I did share with Corey off air. That will be my pick for game week 1. Hopefully Arsenal do win, and then I can progress to the next round. Justin, if you're going for Arsenal, get your money in. £10 it is to join. Like I say, the more people we have involved, the bigger the prize pot will be. Final Runner, link is in the description. Make sure you check them out. As I say, I will be sharing throughout who's progressed to the next round, if I'm still in it, etc., etc. So make sure you check them out. And also, like this video and subscribe to Corey and Oscar's respective channels as well. Corey, what are we on this week?
304, mate. It's going up. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, good.
I didn't talk about Chelsea West Ham because I got the ump, so I'm sure it's all right tonight.
Yeah, I was a bit like that yesterday. I was supposed to do watch-alongs, and I was like, nah, it's not happening. It's not happening. And make sure you go check out Oscar on All Leeds TV. I'm actually wearing some All Leeds TV merch today, actually.
Yes, Joe. Love that.
Still wear it, mate. Still support the cause, brother. Still support the cause. Right, let's get stuck into. No worries. Let's get stuck into this weekend's fixtures. Then we're going to start with the game on Sunday, Manchester United versus Arsenal. I was giving Anthony a bit of stick, but he started and he got his goal. And Corey, he looked impressive for the small cameo that he did have.
Yeah, do you know what? I know it was that type of game where people have levelled it at Man United. It suits them perhaps to sit slightly deeper and transition on teams and look dangerous. But I thought Anthony, particularly Marcus Rashford, really impressed me in the game, just in terms of his ability to run in behind, to stretch Arsenal. I think I discussed against Bournemouth, the Arsenal team being very comfortable to play a higher line. I think perhaps Arteta went a little bit too rogue in the last 15, but there were some good performances in there. I thought Christian Eriksen was absolutely outstanding, ridiculously so. So I think, yeah, okay, fine, it leans into Manchester United and defensively they can look to counter-attack on teams, but it is a good performance and they've, won 4 games now on the bounce, which is
4 on the
impressive.
bounce,
So unfortunately, it does look like they'll be competing, I think, for that top 6, and it's going to be really, really close, I think, this year in terms of Champions League and Europa League places, but definitely Christian Eriksen was a bit of a standout for me.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you there, mate. 4 on the bounce now. Casemiro still to come in, Oscar. As a Leeds United fan, do you worry that Manchester United might be back?
No, too early.
I love that.
Arsenal, no. Arsenal were the better team for me yesterday. I thought until Arteta made those subs. I think Paul Merson, to be fair, was spot on. I think had Arteta not made those subs, I still think Arsenal could have got it to 2-2. I think they only needed to make sort of 1 or 2 changes, but he changed the whole back line. Then he had too many attackers on. Everyone was getting in each other's way, and then Man United get the third kind of on another counter attack. And yeah, I thought Arsenal certainly first 60, 65 minutes. Man United really in the first 60, 65 minutes had 2 shots. They both go in the back of the net, and sometimes that happens. And listen, Arsenal's defending in those transitions wasn't great. I think Saliba did look a little bit exposed against a better quality opponent, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's Man United back just yet. I think obviously they're better than what we were kind of expecting. There's no doubt about that. I think Anthony, he's not worth the money they paid for him, I don't think, but he's a very good footballer. There's no doubt about that. He's got that. He reminds me a little bit of Mahrez. He's not as good as Mahrez, but he's got that little bit of edge about him. And obviously Rashford scoring goals as well. But yeah, Eriksen, I agree with Corey. I think apart from actually though on that Martinelli disallowed goal, I don't think Eriksen looked too clever on that. But I thought after that he was spot on, to be fair, and he makes a big difference.
Just to jump in, mate, that was my next question. What was it, a foul, do you think?
For me, it's the clear and obvious error thing, isn't it? I think for me, it's not a clear and obvious error. Therefore, the goal should have stood. So it probably is a foul, isn't it, if we're being honest? But it's not clear and obvious, is it? You know, we saw the Forest Bournemouth game. Sorry to jump to that one.
It's all right.
That was an error that wasn't clear and obvious, and the penalty still got given. And I thought that was what the rule was. But listen, Arsenal got away with one as well. Let's not forget, Lokonga should have gone for this tackle on Fernandes. It was as much as I dislike Bruno Fernandes, it was a horrific tackle off Lokonga, and Arsenal, funny enough, don't mention that so much. So I hate to agree with Roy Keane, but I do kind of agree with Roy Keane that there was a little bit too much complaining on that side of things. Arsenal, you can't concede 3 goals away from home at the end of the day.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're definitely right. Corey, do you expect Arsenal to bounce back from this? Obviously, they were 100% record prior to playing Manchester United. I've seen some Manchester United takes that they were, Man United were back to their. Ultimately, Arsenal were the better side for me, bro.
No, they were, and I think in games last season, Arsenal really didn't compete to that level of control in a game against a team that you'd argue may be there and thereabouts in terms of a top 6, top 7. So there's definitely signs of improvement. It's not difficult. I know we look at Manchester United and particularly in the first 3 games, they were horrific defensively, but have been very good over the last couple of games or so. So it's not necessarily easy. It's just against a team that I guess has that quality in transition with Rashford and Sancho and the like, and they've come up against it. I think, to be honest, I know people hate this. It seems like a process, but it is still a learning curve for that Arsenal team in terms of those games and how to manage it. Because up until then, and to be honest, the whole of this season, Arsenal games have had complete control. Now, they may have struggled to break teams down, but they've always had control. I think bringing Zinchenko off was the biggest mistake for me, and perhaps the balance of the team wasn't quite there. But again, they'll bounce back. They've been probably one of the best teams I've watched this season. So it's just a blip, I think.
Yeah. Everton up next as well. I'm considering sticking Jesus as my FPL captain. I think they'll beat Everton at home for sure. Let's talk about Everton, Corey. I told you. I called a draw, brother. I called a draw.
It's my room as I realised, he's actually playing right for the billionth time. Yeah, you were right, mate. You were, and I think credit to actually that Everton midfield. I thought when JUSTJOE came on, and even Alex Iwobi, I can't even believe I'm saying that midfield 3, I thought did really well against Liverpool, and actually they grew into the game in terms of a counter-attacking team. And I really don't understand what is wrong with Liverpool. It feels very, very disjointed, to be honest. At the minute, they don't. I think in previous seasons with that high line, of course they still play it, but their ability to squeeze, to win the ball back very, very quickly, for me, is gone. It's definitely not the same. Once you lose that, you just invite the counter, and I think we're just seeing more and more issues. And even when you see Van Dijk for that tackle, he has players running at him 3 or 4, and he has to make a quick decision. Very rarely does Van Dijk even have to do that. So it does feel like, to me, teams they're finding a weakness in Liverpool, but equally Liverpool look disjointed. And I think this season, they are trying to play into Núñez. I know that's how they want to go. And early doors, they were very, very direct. And obviously, he had so many chances in that, a ridiculous amount of chances. Of course, he earns the right to get into those positions, but as a team, Liverpool just look off it at the minute. And I've got to say, though, credit to Everton. I thought they did well. I thought the midfield was very, very good, and perhaps they could have taken even more chances towards the end. So credit to them.
Yeah, credit where credit's due. I mean, I was watching. I can't lie. I was a little bit gutted when Cody's goal was disallowed. I don't know. I got right into it. It was a really, really good game of football, and when it went in and the roof went off, I was like, yeah. And then it got disallowed, which I was a little bit wounded about. Sometimes you can get right into it, can't you? But just on Liverpool, Oscar, I mean, what's going on with Salah? Like, I need to ask you this, boys, because I'm considering. I've already dropped Trent. I dropped Trent a couple of weeks ago from the FPL, and then he smashed it against Bournemouth, and I was like, wrong decision. But it turns out I was still right. I'm now considering dropping Salah. What's going on with him, Oscar?
I wouldn't panic too much. I think he's still top of the charts on chances created, I think, in that lot. He just seems to, I think it's, as Corey was saying, with Núñez in the team, they're having to play a different way. I think in the past, they've always had a false 9. Firmino, Salah's almost been the striker because Firmino kind of fills in as like a 10/9 and just plays him in all the time. And obviously Jota was doing a similar thing as well. And now they're playing an out 9. It is a little bit different. Salah's more of a winger now in that kind of sense. So I don't expect Salah to get as many goals this season, but I won't panic too much with Salah. With what history has told us about Salah, that I think his numbers are still pretty decent. I think something like 2 goals, 3 assists in 4 or 5 games. It's still pretty decent. But I know by Salah's standards, you would expect him to be, challenging Haaland for the Golden Boot. But I just think in general, I think Liverpool as a team, as Corby's kind of touched on it, there's no midfield really at this moment in time. It's just basically a back 4 and 5 or 6 attackers. There's no real kind of like connection or cohesion there. So I think they definitely missed Thiago Alcantara, no doubt about it. Artur, I was surprised Artur didn't come on. I thought that last 10-15 minutes when the game was becoming a little bit frantic, you want that experienced head, that little bit of quality in the middle of the park. And there's the Mane thing as well. Obviously, that was. I think Mane was quite underrated by Liverpool towards the end. But I wouldn't panic too much. But Liverpool, I think they're a bit off City at this moment in time. They are quite a bit off City, I think. Yeah,
I agree with you. Just a little bit on Everton. I thought Pickford was absolutely in inspired form. Absolutely.
We have to remember that as well. Pickford's. Liverpool probably should have won the game with the chances they had.
I think the XG was very similar, with the two sides. But I agree with you.
Listen to you, eh? Listen to
I
you.
know, mate. Listen.
Coming out with them stats.
I am. My knowledge is growing the more that I'm doing this. I can't lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you, which is it can only be a good thing. I don't think I'll ever be spouting all the key stats though. Don't worry.
For a 0-0 though,
I've not changed.
Game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was championing Neil Maupay signing for Leeds at one point, and then he absolutely missed that sitter, didn't he? Did you see the chance that he missed? I was like, oh mate, what are you doing? But yeah, boys, do you think Virgil van Dijk should have been sent off?
Yep. Yeah, he was very. I thought he was very, very lucky. I think we can sit here and I'm sure we'll get into about every refereeing decision that went on this weekend, and slow down different angles and find different contexts. But it was just a bit naughty. He misses the ball. It's too high. It's on his ankle. It's as simple as that. I don't understand how it isn't, if you know what I mean. And yeah, he got away with one.
It just feeds into that corruption thing, doesn't it? Because I'm like, all the big teams getting all the best decisions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about Chelsea, but I mean, you know.
Well, that's up next, mate. So take it away, Chelsea, West Ham.
Oh, all right. Oh, yeah. Well, look,
yeah,
I mean,
man.
it's probably the worst decision I've seen in probably ever. I don't actually recall seeing a worse decision. I'm interested to hear if there's anyone in the chat that can glean some light on it or thinks that it is a foul. But I genuinely, when the ref went over to the VAR, I thought, no, you're having a laugh. There's no way that's why they're just looking at it just for the sake of looking at it, like they did with the first goal and the push on Mendy. But for the life of me, and the thing that frustrates me the most about it, I mean, talk about the game, so I didn't think West Ham performed that badly, but actually the fact that they're showing certain angles and certain things. Jarrod Bowen can't do anything else but jump over the keeper. Anyone that knows football sees the clip in a 10-second clip knows that he's gone to jump over him. Mendy's effectively made a mistake. He's pushed it out to Maxwell Cornet, and Cornet's been robbed of a last-minute equaliser in front of West Ham fans. And it's I still don't understand the decision. I still don't understand the context. For me, it's nuts. In fact, it doesn't even feel like a debate this because
it's not.
There's only one side of it, and that's as simple as that. And I'm getting really frustrated. There was a few in that game, and to keep a balanced perspective, I thought Antonio got a little bit lucky with a headlock on Thiago Silva, but equally, Reece James could have got sent off for violent conduct as well by pushing up into him. So it's the inconsistency, it's the application. To be honest, this weekend's probably the first time I've gone and listen. VAR for me is a tool that they need to use correctly rather than the referees and their level. But it's probably the first time I've gone. I'd rather be without it, because if you're making these bad decisions, it's just ruining the game, and it ruined the game for me. You know, like I say, West Ham could have got an equaliser. It was a good performance. It's an improvement on what we've had for the first 3 games, and yet I'm sitting here talking about a decision that should have never have happened. So. It's criminal, mate, to be honest. And I'm not having the PGMOL talk about it and say, we're sorry, we got it wrong. This is literally bargain basement of decisions. This is horrific. This is any layman out there could watch football for 5 minutes and look at that and go, that's not a foul. And yet these are the most qualified people they've got. It's not enough, really, mate. I don't know what to say about these refs anymore.
Just to add further, like, sort of salt into the wound. Do you know the guy who was running the VAR, Gillett, is it?
Yeah, Jared Gillett, I think.
He was actually brought in from Australia as a VAR specialist.
But I mean,
do you see what I'm saying?
No.
This is the kind of idiocy. He's brought in from the A-League as a VAR specialist, and that's the kind of decisions he's making.
But I've got this application of the rules has gone too far. For me, it smacks of taking a really isolated incident and really drilling down to it into the law book. But if you took people that understood the game and the context and the moment, you wouldn't be making these type of decisions. The fact that 3 people, qualified people, have looked at that decision, including the assistant VAR as well, that doesn't get brought up, and come to that conclusion. The only thing that was positive this weekend about the refereeing was the fact Michael Oliver turned around in the Nottingham Forest Bournemouth game and said no, and that needs to happen a lot more, because it's becoming increasingly frustrating that a ref on the pitch should just agree with the opinion of someone else, and clearly when they don't have that level or that quality of refereeing, it's not worth listening to. But it's disgraceful. We'll talk about the Newcastle one as well. That could be arguably even worse. That's an absolute howler.
Yeah, it's mad. It's for me, it gets to the point of, like, it's bad to say this, but I think it's cowardly sometimes when they don't make decisions, because they know that VAR's going to back them up as well. So either way, sometimes, like, I genuinely look at that Somerville one and he's gone, sorry to bring it to Leeds, but he's gone, I'm not making that decision because they'll do it for me. Because he's fecking right in front of it. I don't know how he doesn't give the pen, to be honest. I think it's mad. Oscar, thoughts on VAR and just the absolute shambolic refereeing this weekend as a whole?
I've said the same thing all weekend. Ex-pros are needed in VAR. I don't think it should be referees refereeing referees. I think it should be ex-pros who know, something like the Jared Bowen incident. We've all, played football at some kind of level when a goalkeeper's made a mistake, he's spilt the ball, he's come flying out just to redeem his mistake out of desperation. Jared Bowen can't get out of the way. That's the thing. Jared Bowen can't get. If anything, it's more foul off Mendy than it is Jared Bowen. It's a joke of a decision. And it's a shame for West Ham because it looks a really good performance from West Ham, to be fair. It looked like they're more than matched Chelsea. But yeah, VAR, it has to be simple now. It's not VAR that's the problem. It's the people handling VAR. Simple as that. And I think it should be ex-pros in there and should be a clear guidance, clear and obvious, and that's it. Clear and obvious. That's all. Was Jared Bowen to clear and obvious? No, it wasn't. Allowed the goal. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Would that be say if you're sat in the PGMO meeting tonight, guys, or whenever it is that the only decision you make? Is it a case of saying, right, we just need to bin off the people operating it and maybe train people? I don't know, get specialists. But
something's amiss when you've got that big a disparity between everybody else saying one thing and the people that are supposed to be qualified saying another. In which case, if you get down to that point, these refs need to come out. They need to fully explain their decision. If they're not going to do it on an interview, even do it in a quote or a statement or whatever. Because if that's the rule and you're going to take the rule like that, then we need to know that. And then you've got to be consistent thereafter with it. And then people, and you know what will happen? People will say we don't agree with it and they'll have to change it. But I honestly, I can't stand it. And to be honest, I'm getting to the point with the VAR where I'm thinking, do we really need someone coming in and giving their opinion? Why not just give the ref on the pitch, the monitor, give them the opportunity to do it again and go down that route? How can you need that much help? I don't, it's
the time as well. It takes so long. Like the Forest one was like 5 or 6 minutes. But all I'll say is we've had 2 international tournaments, the Euros that have just gone, the World Cup in 2018, when this whole thing was first shown to anyone, was the World Cup, passed without incident. Every single decision is made inside 30 seconds. And that was an example of where VAR can be managed.
It was brilliant, weren't it, in the Euros?
Yeah, exactly. It can work. It can work. But it has to stop being, it has to stop being used to the tiniest details to try and disallow a goal where you can. Like the McAllister one yesterday. I mean, it's goal of the season. It's been disallowed for the tiny. I would, if we can't manage it, if it's going to take 5 minutes to make a decision, it should just be binned off if you can't run it properly. If you can, brilliant.
That's the problem. That's where I'm getting to it, because I've actually always been, it's the people using the VAR that's the problem, but the application of it is so bad that I'm thinking, if you can't rectify it or improve it in any type of way, do we really need it anymore? Because I'm looking at some of these games and some of these moments and thinking, you're actually just ruining the game. This is what a lot of people have said for a long time. I had faith that perhaps it would come through and people would be more effective, but it's actually getting worse. The application is horrendous.
It is, mate, and it's really frustrating. And like you say, it's impacting, the enjoyment as well, which is frustrating. We'll talk about it more as we go through, no doubt. But Corey, having seen Chelsea up close, no shots on target till the 65th minute, they've spent over $250 million, I think, haven't they?
A lot.
They're not all that, are they? They're not all that.
Well, we've said it for a while. I think they struggle creatively. I don't think there's any surprise that their wing-back Chilwell is the one that scored the first goal. Ultimately, a player that towards the first half of last season was making those inside runs into the box and overloading and getting chances. And effectively, that's what it was. I thought West Ham, albeit could have been a little bit more ambitious on the counter, we set up to really frustrate them. And every time I watched them play, the only players that I felt could create something from nothing were Sterling and Reece James. I never felt for 1 minute there'd be a player in the box that could get in behind. Everything was in front of us. It was very, very simple. And to be honest, they were just mistakes. I mean, Havertz's goal was good, and I'll give him credit for his movement across Ogbonna. I'll give him that. But aside from that, I think it is very, very easy to defend against Chelsea. They're not offering too much else. Perhaps it changes with someone like Aubameyang if he stretches the play and creates space for others. But I think it's just a system thing. I just think the way that Chelsea is set up and how they create chances probably needs to change a little bit. And listen, when they brought Sterling in, I thought fantastic player. Of course, we've seen him for England. We know what he can do in Man City. But it feels like they need a little bit more if they're going to be a top 4 team and compete for third. But for large periods of that game, I think they actually had a worse XG than us. So that would say it all in terms of a team that dominated the ball to the extent they did.
Yeah. I don't think they'll get top 4. I know we said it earlier on in the... Well, all of us agreed, didn't we? The North London clubs will get in there. Oscar, let me come to you then. We'll do Brentford Leeds now, mate. I've said my piece. I know you've said your piece on All Leeds TV as well. But what are your thoughts on that absolute shit show? 5-2.
I mean, I've calmed down a bit now. I think having watched, obviously... I thought, actually, to be honest with you, it's a weird kind of way to analyse it. But on the ball, I thought second half, we were playing some really nice stuff, but missed some sitters. But defensively, you can't give away the goals we've given. In terms of the last week or so, I've said it before, we give up 10, 15 of these a game in terms of where it's a ball over the top. Most of the time we deal with it, but when we don't deal with it, straight away it's a clear chance on goal. And for me, it's mostly individuals making mistakes rather than the system. I think, a lot of it from Brentford was just simple little balls over the top. Llorente has to deal with some of them. Robin Koch has to do better as well. I think the whole back four has to do better in that kind of sense. But I'm not panicking too much yet. But it's a warning sign. It's definitely a warning sign that, against teams with pacey forwards, we're going to have problems. But if you're looking at the positive side of things, we did create a bit. I thought we looked, despite the misses from Bamford, I thought we looked better again. I
did a shock of that, by the way.
Yeah, both were really. The one at was it 2-1? The one at 2-1 where he's in on goal and he's just sliced it wide. But we looked a better team for him on the pitch.
I thought the keeper had saved that,
Well, yeah,
I was like, what a save! And
they kind of just curved away. It was like one of my golf shots somehow. It was, but no, there was positives. Brentford are a tough team to break down. We've had chances, but defence. And I think another thing to point out was Ivan Toney was out of this world on the day. He was just. I mean, the finish for the third goal is just. It's nasty. The finish for the third goal.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room and that man at the back, Diego Llorente. Are you on the same vibe as me of binning him out?
I know it's
just difficult for you. I know
the left-sided centre-back for me should be left-footed. I've said this for a couple of weeks now. I do think, because I think all the time, I think you see more and more, even from the elite teams, that they want a left footer on that left side of the back four. You've seen it with every single team. Martinez at Man United, Laporte at Man City. You're seeing a lot more of this now, and I just think that leadership factor as well. I think to be fair, Llorente before the Brentford game was fine. I think he was doing fine, but I think obviously confidence-wise, I just think it should be between Koch and Llorente for the right-sided spot, Cooper and Struijk for the left-sided spot. Obviously, Struijk. This is the problem with the depth at the back, really, in terms of Struijk to move to left-sided centre-back. We're going to have to obviously wait till Firpo's back to do that. So that is a problem in that kind of depth kind of situation. But I'm not one of these people in terms of the Charlie Creswell thing. I'm not bringing that up because Charlie Creswell wasn't a left-sided centre-back either. It wouldn't really have solved anything having Charlie Creswell there. Maybe Hield has been mentioned too. But yeah, I think Cooper and Haaland should come in for Forest for me. Just that little bit of experience.
Joe, someone said to me, I had a debate on social media and someone said to me, how will Christensen improve then? And without being blunt, I don't give a shit how Christensen improves if he's not playing. He does it in training. Do it in training. We ain't
It's a long season. Yeah. I mean, we've said this stuff about. I've not said it. But
we can't though, Oscar. You can't say, oh well, we won't play Haaland, even though clearly he did more than both right backs have done all season in the space of 20 minutes. I'd agree. Just because Christensen needs to have time, I just think that's a mad outlook. For me, you put your best players, and for me, I mean, I think it's a bit of a sorry state of affairs that 3 seasons into the Premier League, we're still banking on Cooper and Haaland, if I'm being totally honest, like they're saviours.
Well, I disagree a little bit on that, because I think Cooper was our best centre-back last season, to be honest. Yeah, I do think our record with and without Cooper was as dramatic as our record with and without KP last season. But yeah, I think, listen, if Haaland performs like he did in the first season and Cooper maintains what he's done in the Premier League so far, I think it'll be okay. I do genuinely think that. I do think it's just down to a little bit. I've said all season it's a bit of a makeshift back four because Struijk's playing out of position, Llorente's playing on the wrong side. You just need to kind of shift everyone over a little bit, and obviously hopefully Firpo comes back a better player this season. That's the thing. But obviously, there's a worry about suspensions and injuries with Firpo. So, listen, we're definitely a team that's still in transition. There's no doubt about that. I hate that word transition. But listen, we finished 17th last season. We lost our 2 best players. We're always going to have bumps along the road. And Sinisterra is a big positive for me. I'm a little bit frustrated we're not able to see 90 minutes of Sinisterra yet. But I'm guessing that's because of fitness and obviously getting up to speed with this system coming from Haaland. But I've seen enough to say we can bounce back from this, and I'm not going to panic too much. I just think that, I would make those changes now.
Forest is huge, though, bro. Forest is huge, because if we don't win there, that's no wins in 4, Of
course it is. Of course it's a big game. But we'll see what we're about. I think we are going to have bumps along the road, but I've seen enough this season, certainly going forward, to say that even without that natural striker fully fit, I still think we're going to score goals this season.
Yeah, no, I do. I think we'll be all right. I'm not concerned in that respect.
It's not like last season where if Rafinha didn't score, you're thinking, where's the next goal coming from? When Rafinha had that drop off after Christmas, that was a big concern. That was like thinking, wow, we're in trouble here. But I'm not nowhere near at that point yet with Leeds. Nowhere near.
No, neither am I, mate. Neither am I. I thought we, like you said, we had opportunities. It was just shocking defending at the back. Corey, Oscar touched on Ivan Toney there. Great centre forward display. Is he close to an England call up for you?
100%. I think it kind of got glossed over last season. I know people keep bringing up his non-open play goals, but to be honest, I think that's remiss if you actually watch Ivan Toney for a full 90 minutes. Everything he does creatively is build up. The fact that Brentford build a lot of the play through him, and they've always got that outlet, and his composure in front of goal is ridiculous. And I just wonder, in an England team, we've got so many creative players, albeit it gives us a slightly different look. Of course, Harry Kane can drop into that 10, but someone that can hold the ball up and bring others into play, it would be a really interesting look. And I definitely think he's knocking on the door. To be honest, that last goal was ridiculous. It was that's a silly goal. It's silly composure. So yeah, I would like to see him. Same with Jared Bowen last season. I want to see Ivan Toney. I want to see what he could give us. Maybe it's too late. Maybe Southgate's already picked his team and perhaps he's got his bankers. But listen, Ivan Toney deserves a chance.
I agree.
Penalties alone. There's penalties alone.
Free kicks alone.
We should talk about it like set piece takers. Every team wants a set piece taker, but Toney and Tammy Abraham, I think, should be the backups to Harry Kane. I really do think they can have an impact.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. We talked about Wilson, but he can't stay fit. Bamford, unfortunately, is not fit. I'm just trying to think. Watkins, not for me. I think it will be.
Calvert
should be
mentioned.
Yeah,
not for me.
Injury.
No. It should be Toney and Tammy, I think. Any thoughts to give on Leeds United, Corey, before we move on?
I mean, I said to you before we went live, I mean, perhaps in a different game, if you score that equaliser and it's 3, or maybe it's different. I just thought defensively there is obviously an issue with Llorente there. I just think the nature of the goals that I'm seeing from Leeds conceding, they're normally from a team overloading on one side, someone running in behind, and there's lots of space to move into. And I think Jesse Marsch definitely has to address that. And it would be a concern if the team looks at Leeds and they think, actually, say, for example, with Skamaka, let's just play him up front. Let's just try to attract players to the ball and get players in behind. That's the tactic. But I think by that same token, that's why you have success against other teams, because Brentford look to play into that. They don't want to engage your press at all. Whereas I think a top team or a team that backs himself in possession, they'll look to play out, which I think Leeds will absolutely thrive on. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but you'll be fine. You
bang on. I made that point, man. It's like Chelsea, because they have the superior players, just think, well, our way will win out, and we were able to catch them on the fly. But then the game since then, we've had Potter and Frank, who will come up with the tactical plan.
Yeah,
the tactically astute, and then we've played an Everton side that are weaker in terms of. I'm not saying man for man, because I think Everton man for man are quite decent. It's just because they're down there and struggling. It's right. How best do we get a result? Whereas when you play teams that are mid-table or up, they're like, we'll impose our style, which then gives Leeds more opportunities. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think to credit Thomas Frank and Graham Potter, as you said, I think they both switch it, and they both and Brighton decided to play more direct because of that. So they know how to frustrate Leeds. But like I say, I think the biggest thing at the minute is there has been improvement in the style, definitely from the back end of last season. Yeah, of course there are weaknesses there that perhaps need to be improved, but you got a new team. You're improving, generally speaking. Sinistera to come in, so I think you'll be fine. But I do think you need to beat Forest, and I think that will make you feel a little bit more comfy.
Definitely. Well, let's talk about Forest Bournemouth just quickly. Oscar, should Forest be worried this season? I said that they're getting relegated. I called it, didn't I? They lost 2-0 up, lost 3-2.
Yeah, it's worrying losing. It's certainly Bournemouth. Since Bournemouth hadn't really offered anything until the first day of the season. Since the first day of the season rather. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of a worry. I just think there's too many players there to try and gel together. And you got how they've got someone like Renan Lodi playing for him. I cannot get my head around that. He could genuinely play for Man City. I think he's that good. But yeah, I think obviously they're struggling a little bit. I think obviously Steve Cooper, in terms of stepping up to this league, is finding it tough. I think sometimes you do find that with managers who, are absolutely flying in the Championship, they find it more difficult playing against higher quality opposition, who do have a go at them. I think it's a little bit too early to say, are they in trouble? I still think the table's very close together, very bunched up, and they have got good footballers there. Definitely got good footballers there. But yeah, I certainly don't think Forest probably needs to do half the business they've done, really. I think it's just too many players to try and gel in together. I think Gibbs White looked good on Saturday on the highlights of the game. Obviously, even our Forest fans might say different, but still a super difficult game. Looking forward to next Monday. So, yeah, I think they're going to be in a battle, I think, because I think the league's that good this season, but I still think probably got a little bit too much quality compared to like a Southampton and Fulham.
Okay, yeah, probably. Let me just get this super chat in from Taylor J. Baxter. Thank you very much, mate. He says, I'm a Leeds fan. Lorente needs to be dropped. I agree with you there. He said, Drama can't start next game. Love Haaland getting his nose broke after 10 seconds. Yeah, I went on Drama prior to the season. I'm yet to be convinced. Just my opinion. I would start Haaland for sure. 10 seconds in, he looked dangerous. Also, Nyonto looks like a great player. Love you, Joe and Oscar. We love you too, Taylor Baxter. Thanks for your super chat. And Corey does as well, even though you haven't.
Yeah, I love
it. Corey, I know you would have watched a lot of Bournemouth, but Gary O'Neill got the job in an interim basis. 3-2, good result. Can he keep Bournemouth up? Can anybody keep Bournemouth up?
It's really, really tough. I think they brought in Jayden Anthony, who I thought was a very good player in the Championship and obviously did really, really well to score the goal. I think the only thing in defence of Bournemouth, albeit, listen, they haven't brought in a number of players, is that Dominic Solanke played. Again, Anthony came on in that second half. So I think there are players there of genuine quality going forward that they do need to rely on, but it's a massive ask. In terms of Gary O'Neill, I don't think so. I'm interested to see what happens with Sean Dyche. This is the thing: is the race to Sean Dyche who's going to go first? And if that's a banker in terms of it might not even be a banker. Bournemouth squad isn't that great, and the league is in terms of quality has been really, really high this year. But you give yourself a really good chance with Sean Dyche in charge. So I can't see Gary O'Neill being in charge.
No. There is a little bit about Bournemouth though. I've got to say, I liked what Lewis Cook looked really good second half. I thought, and we all know Lewis Cook. Certainly me and Joe, we know he's good enough for this level when he's fully fit, and he looks like he's got past those injury troubles. Philip Billing, I think, has been a bit of a goal machine in the Championship. I mean, the strike for that 2-1 as well. They've got a little bit about them. I still think long way.
They're finishing bottom.
No, they are, but they're not as bad as Norwich. They're not Norwich level bad. I still think they'll get some results this season. I don't think they're that bad, kind of thing. Yeah, there's bad, and then there's Norwich and like West Brom a couple of years back bad.
I think they're that bad, bro. I think they're not. We'll see. We'll see over the course of the season, I guess. If they
get the next managerial appointment wrong, then they could be in big trouble.
I think they'll give it that Gary O'Neill. I think he maybe gets. I think he might get it. Anyway, let's move on to Spurs versus Fulham. Spurs 2, Fulham 1. Spurs started well for a change. We've been saying, bemoaning the fact that maybe they were getting by a little bit, but they started well and dominated the game. Corey, I'm going to ask you, and I know it'd be difficult to say. We spoke about Liverpool's problem. Could Spurs be the team to challenge City, or are we writing Liverpool off too soon?
To be honest, I still think it's a while away from Spurs. In theory, of course, they've got a fantastic front four and a world-class manager, and I'm not writing them off. And even when they haven't been brilliant this season, they have got results. So they'll always be there and thereabouts. But I don't think they're quite there in terms of consistency over the 90 minutes of performance that they need. We'll see. I think it'll be interesting on Saturday against Man City because, like last season, I think it plays into Antonio Conte's style of play, and he'll probably try to be able to exploit them a little bit. But I don't think they're. It could work one of either way. Either they're not going to improve and they're not going to be able to dominate games, or you look at the likes of a player like someone like Basuma and he improve in terms of his performance and give him a different dynamic. Then I think they perhaps might, but way too early. I still got Arsenal as that team that if anyone's going to compete outside of it, Arsenal for me.
Nice. Taylor's come back to us with a super chat. He says, Dyche for Bournemouth. All Willie and Cock are away. It's them words that I'd never thought I'd say. Willie Nyonton, Robin Cock, for anyone who don't know. And he says, we love you too, Corey. There you go. Big up to Taylor Baxter for that. Oscar, did you see Richarlison's goal? It was an absolute wonder strike, but my most favourite thing was him ripping his shirt off the way he did, only for it to be disallowed. I was like, hey!
Yeah, he's annoyingly playing well for him, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's
your flop of the season, by the way.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. I still don't think when Spurs are at full strength, I still think Kulusevski, Kane, Son is still the front three. That's but give Richarlison credit, he's finding a way into that system, and it's actually Son who looks like the player who's a little bit off it, but that's a different
kind of Salah, man. A bit like Salah, although at least Salah's
I think Salah's playing a lot better than Son is.
True.
Son, I've never seen his finishing be so wayward ever, really. He's wasted every single opportunity he's had, but in terms of Richarlison, yeah, they've got nice depth, Tottenham, but I still think it's a long way to go for Tottenham to really push. I think top four and maybe a cup competition, cup trophy, be a good season for them. But I still feel like Man City this weekend, I'm not convinced. I still think they're way away. I think when a team sits back against them, like Fulham did to an extent, they find it difficult to break them down. They're not really battering these teams. Other than Southampton, against Southampton play quite open as well. I'm not convinced they can unpick the lock to an extent. And I think against West Ham last week, they struggled in that one as well. It's not screaming a team that's going to push for like the top two, top three. I still think it's like Corey, it'll be Arsenal if there's going to be anyone breaking into that top two.
For sure. Let's just touch briefly. I don't want to focus too much on the game, but obviously Wolves got their first win in 154 days. It's been coming. And then they bring in this new centre forward and he gets injured. What do we make to the Costa move? It looks like he's on his way back to the Premier League.
I love it. I love him back in the Premier League. Absolutely love Diego Costa. Yeah. I mean, he's just entertaining, isn't he? He's not the footballer he was now, but he
hasn't played since December, man.
No, his last spell at Atletico Madrid was pretty poor as well. But listen, he's a great player to have in the league. He's like Richarlison, you say, but I don't like Richarlison, but I do like Diego Costa. It sounds a bit like, what's his name? I can contradict myself, but Diego Costa, there's just something about him. He's just got an edge about him. It's just, even though he's played for like Chelsea and that lot, I still like him, to be fair. And it sounds horrible saying that, but it's just something about him that he makes the league entertaining. I love footballers like that. Bit old school and rough, but yeah, he is entertaining to have in the league.
Yeah, thoughts, Corey?
Yeah, he's horrible, isn't he? He really is. I don't get me wrong. In his peak, he was a fantastic player. He really, really was. I'm interested to see how many games they can actually get out of Diego Costa, if I'm honest, and how much of a role he has, whether it is the last 20 minutes of games. But listen, if he's got any type of quality there, I think he can still score goals in the league. Perhaps at Wolves, I know they've struggled a little bit creatively, but get players around him that can create for him and get him in the box and let's see what happens. But yeah, horrible player. Probably hate it when he plays against West Ham. But I'm intrigued. I want to see what Diego Costa looks like now. I appreciate he's been in Brazil and been around the block a bit, but yeah, it'll be intriguing.
Yeah.
The best story will be if Costa scores against Tottenham and goes to celebrate in front of Conte. That'll be the best story because they hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. So that'll be a good story. He'll be pumped up for that game. I'll tell you that much.
Definitely. He binned him out, didn't he? Binned him off.
Yeah.
He was at Chelsea, so
won the league with him and then binned him out, didn't he?
Yeah. It'll be interesting, won't it, to see how it kicks off. Let's talk about Newcastle Palace. Obviously, Newcastle absolutely battered Palace and should have won the game if it wasn't for another poor refereeing decision. I think it's Tyrick Mitchell, clear push on Joe Willock into the goalkeeper. And I mean, again, the mind boggles, doesn't it, as to how that wasn't given, man.
Well, I don't really know what to say anymore, to be honest. I mean,
exactly.
I said it earlier. I mean, that's rivaling the Jared Bowen one. I mean, that's borderline ridiculous. I don't actually understand what this is. What I'm saying. I need to, as silly as it is, and we all agree that it's the wrong decision. What's the logic? Like, I need to know what the clear line of thinking was. And I think what we'll find is you're literally following a rule book to the letter, but you cannot tell me in the rule book that, you know, causing that foul is going to disallow the goal. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And Newcastle, by the way, lastly, I've had a couple of decisions against them recently where even I've felt that they've been a little bit suspect. Even Crystal Palace against Manchester City, you know, there's been a few kicking around where a lot of these teams that are
corruption in it, bro.
Well, look, it's the standard of officiating, but there is part of me that does think they do lean towards it. And there is something about Newcastle that I don't feel that these referees like. They are competing, aren't they? They are that team that looks to break the structure a little bit. But they've lost a fair few points this season on decisions alone.
Yeah, it's always the teams. Yeah, it's never the top teams. It's always us little ones, isn't it? And that's the shtick. It's quite interesting. I was listening to Under the Cosh today, and there's a referee on there from. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's from a different era, from like the early 90s and that. But some of the stories he was telling about, like when they would go abroad and referee European games, and they were getting offered cars and all sorts, man. It's just mad. It were mad listening to it, like, and clearly not in today's game. I wouldn't have thought so. It just made me angry then over Leeds United and the European Cup. So I was thinking about Bayern Munich and the way we got screwed. So I got really annoyed because, anyway. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm calling them all corrupt bastards. It's mad, isn't it? Villa City. Listen, Haaland scored again. The guy is inevitable. What about Kyle Walker failing to pass to him, by the way? What was he doing?
Shocker, wasn't it? I mean, City, I thought for an hour, 65 minutes of that game, looked pretty unstoppable, to be fair. And they just wasted chances. And I've said this before with City, it's only really Haaland that's properly clinical. I think the rest is kind of a little bit more... you feel like they're going to waste opportunities, and the efficiency isn't really there with them. And it's still obviously top quality, but City really should have that game finished in the first hour really. And then obviously Villa, don't get me wrong, really come back into the game. Some really smart substitutions from Gerrard. Again, another VAR decision in terms of the Coutinho one. I thought Villa came back into it pretty well, but KDB as well, of course, Justin. But I'm talking about goals now. In terms of the front three, in terms of Haaland, Foden, Mahrez. It just feels like Haaland is the only one who's really, really going to get them the goals this season. I think the rest are going to be kind of stuck on 7 or 8 goals a season, and it's going to be quite reliant on Haaland and Alvarez when he does play. So be interesting. But City is still the best team in this league by a long, long way, and they showed that for an hour today, an hour last weekend. So I wouldn't be panicking too much on City if I was a City fan.
No, definitely not. It's a great point for Villa as well, Corey. Maybe could it be a turning point for Gerrard? They've got Leicester up next. It's massive, that one. That's
huge. And to be honest, I think perhaps they might edge it just purely because Leicester have been that poor. I mean, Gerrard would. It was interesting to hear Gerrard's comments after the game that he was, even with the Coutinho disallowed goal, he was actually happy with the performance, and and the players were listening to him and what he wanted to do. And of course, this is the thing about Aston Villa; they do have quality. I think that's why we find it so strange that they are in the positions that they are in. And you see Liam Bailey's goal and Ramsey; they have that ability. It's never really consistent enough. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Leicester's a massive game, and it's a real opportunity. And I think he's grateful to have a performance and a result like that in a game against Manchester City, to go to his team and say, look, we can build on this. And it'll be interesting to see if Gerrard can stick at it and perhaps get a couple of draws and wins and an upturn in form, because I think Aston Villa as a team, as a club, really, they need to stabilise and stick with what they've got. It feels like the last couple of years has very much been bringing different players, and they are all quality players, but actually having that stability to bed them in and improve, I think that's what they need. But again, it's Premier League football. If you're down there too long, then inevitably you get the chop and you have to go. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be interesting to see how the next few weeks go for him. That brings us nicely to the last team we're going to discuss, and we're going to discuss Leicester City. I can't lie, I enjoy our WhatsApp group at the minute, and the absolute.
He's gone. He's gone. I know what Locke says. He's going. He's
reckon
going.
He's gone, bro?
Do
you think he wants the sack though? Like,
it feels like. I mean, look at his body language. I mean, look at his body language. I mean, the way his interviews are going. I think Locke's put somebody in the chat yesterday and says it was a local journalist from Leicester saying that he's now talking to his next employers in terms of trying to justify why things are going so wrong at Leicester in terms of recruitment and that lot. But he just saw some of the stuff that was happening in that Brighton game. I didn't see all of it, but I was watching kind of the last 20 minutes after the F1 race, and he just saw it 3-2, 4-2 down. They were just getting Brighton were just messing around with Leicester really, and Leicester just could not get a touch of the ball, and it just everything looked wrong about Leicester. In terms of you look at people like Jamie Vardy, Maddison, and that lot, the body language isn't great, and it just feels like Leicester have kind of hit that point that Tottenham did under Pochettino, where they've been great for most of the time, but it's kind of badly needed refreshing in the summer. It didn't get refreshed, and I just can't see any way. Rodgers maybe he sees this Villa game in. He might manage this Villa game, but I can't even see him getting a result in that. And Villa aren't great, but I just can't even see Leicester getting a result in that. I just think if they don't start that game well, the crowd's going to turn. The crowd's probably going to turn before the game even kicks off. Yeah, it's not looking good for Leicester for me at the current time. But when they do change manager, I think you will get a new manager bounce as long as they get the appointment right, and then they'll be fine. I still think the quality's there for them.
Yeah, you have been saying that, and they do have some quality players in there.
A bit like Newcastle last season, I suppose.
Yeah, you could say. It's first time ever they've started a Premier League season without a winning six, Corey.
Yeah.
What I think they're in trouble, bro. I do, because sometimes a rot can set in, and you then have. I know it's very early, but would it be that much of a shock if they were to go down? I don't know. It would be.
I think it'd be massive. I mean, you look at the last couple of years. I mean, winning the Prem and being in the Europa League, and even last year, albeit a poor season, 4 points off us in a Conference League semi-final. Even when it's not been brilliant with Rodgers, they still ultimately, when they look back at it, they've obviously got a trophy out of it, and they were competing for the top four. The biggest thing for me, and it's a bit strange to watch because you've got a good group of players, albeit you've lost probably one of your best players in Fofana. You've lost big players like Schmeichel as well to that team. But Rodgers is a good coach, and these are good players, and it's just ultimately, I don't know, it's one of them things where within the team, they're not listening to him. They're not motivated by him, whatever his systems is. And there are persistent things in a Leicester team we've seen, particularly from set pieces over the last year or so, where if you're completely unable to actually resolve the problem, then a lot of these players will start to turn around and go, actually, I'm not convinced. And I said this before, a lot of these players joined Leicester on the premise that they would go and they would improve as players, but they would also go on to other clubs. Now you're at Leicester where you're thinking, hang on a minute, I don't really fancy a relegation scrap. And they've got very, very, very good players that can go and play for a lot of teams in this league, but it's untenable. It's untenable. It's one of them things where I think you do have to change it. You're right in talking about what coach they bring in, because I think that could be bigger. If you bring in the wrong coach, then this group of players could effectively down tools if they don't respond correctly. So I think Leicester have to get it spot on, but what's going on with their club at the minute, the type of losses that they're registering, it's something is really, really off, even for a model that's supposed to be sustainable. And even if you are cutting your cloth, it's just a bit rotten, which is mad to think, because we sat here, maybe a year and a half ago and said Leicester are an unbelievably run club. They have everything. They've got their training ground, but I think it's time for a change. And I can't really remember too many times Rodgers has actually been at a club as long as he's been at Leicester. And so there's no evidence to say he can turn it around and rejuvenate. So I think Locks has probably got it spot on for quite a while, in fairness to him.
He has.
Same happened under Ranieri, though. In terms of just suddenly it just dropped off. For half a season, and I think it's a ruthless board at Leicester as well. They're pretty ruthless when things start to go wrong. There's no past glories really don't matter with that board. It's all about the here and now, and I just can't see how they don't take action on Rodgers pretty soon.
Yeah. I think we're all expecting it, aren't we? I think it definitely will happen. Just before we finish up, Graham Barwick with the super chat says, I think VAR needs removing apart from offside. Sweet FA wrong with the Arsenal goal yesterday. If that's a foul, then football is done. I think we all agreed that maybe probably was a foul. But there's other decisions that definitely were wrong. You could listen. I can live with the Leeds one to a certain extent. I can live with that Man United Arsenal one, but it's the West Ham one, it's the Newcastle one where you're like, what are you doing? Like I don't know. It's insanity of the highest order. Hopefully PGMOL will that's a tongue twister, but hopefully whatever they do will come out and sort this situation.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry we got it wrong. We won't do it again.
That's not enough,
and then do it again. Yeah, it's just not enough.
Big up to David Moyes saying what he said as well, and big up to Jesse Marsh. Although I do think Jesse can continue to do that. Just don't tell people in press conferences why you're doing it, because your cards are marked. He sits in press conferences going, I do it to get in the referee's head. You know, it's thought out, it's methodical, all this sort of stuff. And then he wonders why at the first opportunity they went, red, see ya. Because that'll hurt them, and they'll be like, listen, next time Jesse gives it, just give him a red, man, and he'll stop doing it.
I don't like that either. You know that when you see Jesse Marsh talking to the ref, and he's literally just asking, why have you not gone to VAR? And it's almost straight away, you completely shut down. There's nothing there. It's dissent. It's like that. I know it feels like it is a bit cagey, but there's got to be a little bit of a grey area. You kind of allow that communication. That has to be, surely. Can't just be sending off managers every time they disagree. Do you know what I mean?
Unless you're Klopp or Tuchel, you can't talk to a referee, basically. You can't tell me Klopp and Tuchel have been more aggressive. Haven't been more aggressive than what Marsh was on. Marsh wasn't even aggressive. You kind of can lip read. It's not swearing. It's nothing. It's just sums up that game, really, in that kind of sense. But again, we talk about the top six, the supposed big six. There's definitely a link. There's definitely a link there.
Yeah. There is for sure. Just before we finish up, guys, I just want to remind everyone of tonight's sponsors who will be sponsoring this show. I've stopped my camera. I've pressed the wrong button. Must get better. Must do better. It is the Legends at the Final Runner. Listen, if you want to get involved in this, cash prize currently set at $340. That will go up the more people that get involved. It's £10 to enter. The link is in the description. Go to competitions. Look for the Just Joe competition. It's a bit like Last Man Standing. All you need to do is pick a fixture or a team that you believe will win their fixture this weekend. If indeed they do win, you'll then go on to the following weekend. And what you need to do is just be the final runner, the last person at the end who will then pick up all the money. My selection for the weekend is going to be Arsenal at home to Everton. And if they win, I'll see you in week 2. But I'll discuss it in the watch-alongs and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, if you do want to get involved, Final Runner, the link is in the description. Make sure you do check them out. And get involved, man. It's good. We can all have a laugh when Oscar picks a rubbish team or Corey goes for the Hammers and they get beat. You know
I'm going straight to Bournemouth, I don't even care. I'm going for Bournemouth.
Just going for Bournemouth against Brighton. There you go. Make sure you check out Oscar at All Leeds TV. Definitely make sure. I'm not saying that you don't definitely check out Oscar, but I mean, Corey should have a lot more subscribers than he does. His ball knowledge is absolutely exceptional. And he puts me to shame. And I know Oscar's ball knowledge.
I beat yourself up, mate. You brought out the XG tonight.
True.
Whip that out.
I'm growing. Yeah. I'm trying. Right. Okay. Listen, folks. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on your way out. I'll be live tomorrow from about 7:45. I'm doing the Champions League watch-alongs, loads of them, all at once, like I did before the other week, and everyone enjoyed it, so we'll go there. It's a bit like Soccer Saturday, man. So, yeah, join us for that, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and it's goodbye from all of us. We'll see you on Friday. There we go.